Are you ready to build a snowman without the snow? In today's video, we'll show you how to make the cutest snowman decorations, no snow required. This video is part of the Snowman Showdown. Hi, my name is Katie from Lady Red Crafting. Let's get crafty and bring some winter magic to your home. For this craft, we're starting out with one of those classic wood cutouts from the Dollar Tree. And this is just a cute little snowman. And I'm taping this down to a paintable surface. For this next step, you're going to need a hot glue gun. And I'm just going to fill the hole in at the top of that snowman and just add some little lines or designs to my snowman using the hot glue. Now let's grab our Aleene's tacky glue, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue over the top of the snowman. And once I have a little bit of glue on top of the snowman here, I'm going to take a paintbrush and just paint that all over. Next, I'm going to grab some aluminum foil, and this is just the regular aluminum foil. And I'm going to tear a piece off big enough to cover my snowman. I'm just going to lightly press that aluminum foil into all the nicks and crannies. Now I grabbed a paintbrush with no paint on it, just a dry paintbrush, and I'm just going to paint the aluminum foil onto my snowman. Now once that is completely dried, I grab my Delta Creative white metallic paint, and I'm just going to do a nice coat of paint over the top of the foil. Now once that is dry, I grab my multi-surface folk art licorice paint, and I'm going to paint the hat on our snowman. And for our carrot nose, I am going to use my Delta Creative metallic gold paint, and I'm going to paint the nose. Now to seal all of this paint in, I'm using my hard coat Mod Podge, and I'm just going to do a light coat over the top of all the paint. And now once everything is nice and dry, I grabbed my zip sander and I'm going to sand off the excess aluminum foil here. Now, if you don't want to use a zip sander, that is totally fine. A little piece of sandpaper will work. But I've also found that an emery board, especially on detail work like this, works really nice. So just the nail file, and you just go ahead and you just do the same motion in a downward motion and sand off the foil. Moving on to the next step. I found this hanger at the Dollar Tree, and I am going to transform these into some ornaments. So the first thing I want to do is I want to deconstruct this sign. So I'm just using a pair of pliers and a screwdriver to remove the staples off the back side of this sign. Now we're going to go ahead and just take a little bit of water, and I'm going to spray the tops of these signs and put a piece of paper towel over the top to let it all soak in. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a scraping tool and scrape off as much of it that I can. I don't need to scrape all of it off because I am going to be covering it with another material, but I wanted to scrape off enough that the glue would stick nicely and not fall off. And the material we're going to glue onto these ornaments is this sparkly little placemat I found at the Dollar Tree, and I absolutely love crafting with it. It is amazing. I'm just going to take one of these squares and I'm going to place it on the back side of this placemat, and I want to get the most out of it that I can, so I'm going to put it in a spot where I feel like I can get more pieces cut out. And then I'm just going to trace around the outside and then cut a piece out. And once I get this piece cut out, I do a fit check with my little ornament piece and make sure everything is going to fit nice. Now let's take our square, and I'm going to tape this down to a paintable surface, and we're going to flip this over to where the smooth side is, which would have been the back side of this sign. And I'm taking a little bit of this black satin paint, and I'm just going to coat the back side of this ornament. I am also going to paint around the perimeter of the ornament as well. Next, I grabbed a piece of satin ribbon, and I'm going to measure out a piece about 10 inches in length. And this is a 1/4 inch thick satin ribbon. I'm going to take this ribbon, and I'm going to make it into a shape of a fish. And if you see me made ornaments before, this is one of my standard moves for making a hanger. Next, I go ahead and add a little bit of hot glue, and I'm just going to make sure that that adheres to each other. This allows for the hanger to sit flat against your ornament and leaves a nice hanging look when you hang this on your tree. Now I'm just going to glue this to the back corner of the square on the black side of the square. And once that glue has dried, we'll flip this over and we'll go ahead and start decorating the front side of our ornament. Next, we're going to grab our Titebond glue, and I'm just going to add that to the top of my ornament, and I'm going to use a paintbrush to paint that glue onto the top of the ornament. This will allow for the piece of the placemat that we're going to put over the top of it to not have any lumps when we put that down. And I'll just lay that piece of placemat over the top of the glue. And I'm loving how this is turning out. You have that nice black on the back side of the ornament, but then you have this really sparkly part on the front. And it just really makes it look like a polished ornament, something that you might buy at a high-end store. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab that Titebond again and our cute little snowman. And we're going to take a little bit of that Titebond glue, add that to the back of our snowman. And of course, I'm going to use that paintbrush again and paint that glue right onto the snowman so that he is covered completely. Then we're just going to center that snowman right to the front of our ornament. And wow, I just love how this ornament turns out. This looks so high-end and doesn't look like you made it from Dollar Tree items. Let me know what you think in the comments below. While walking around the Dollar Tree, I saw this adorable little snowman and I thought I could make him over and make it work with my decor. So what I'm going to start out by doing is I'm going to carefully remove these little buttons here and his nose, and we're going to save them for later. And once we removed all of our little embellishments here, we're going to take that garland tinsel that's around the sides of the snowman, and I'm going to remove it and save it for another craft. And once we have everything removed, this is what we're left with. So to restring this snowman, I am going to be using some white nautical rope that I did get from the Dollar Tree. And I hot glued it at the bottom, and then I'm just going to wrap that around the snowman and hot glue strategically to make sure everything stays into place. I stopped wrapping the rope right about where the hat would have hit on the snowman. And I'm just going to hot glue the rope right there and cut any excess rope off. And for our stocking hat, I am going to be using this burlap fabric that I had left over from the Dollar Tree. And I'm cutting a piece off that is 9 by 7 inches. And to get the rim of the hat, I'm going to do an accordion fold and use some hot glue to hot glue that into place. And I'm just going to leave that fringe there because I think that just gives the hat a little bit of character. I'm going to flip this piece of fabric over and remove any excess strings and just cut any fringe off. Now I'm going to take my little snowman, I'm going to place him right on top of the fabric there. This will be the back side of the snowman, and we're just going to fold the hat into place and hot glue everything along the bottom piece. And now I'm going to flip the snowman over, and we're just going to do a little bit of hot glue and tuck that underneath the hat just to make sure it stays into place on the front side as well. Now I grabbed that piece of rope that we cut off earlier, and I'm just going to untwist it and take a single strand of that braided rope, and I'm going to tie that along the top of our hat here. Because that burlap is a little bit stiffer than normal fabric, I kind of had to fan it out as I was tying that knot on the top so that it would lay nice. Next, I'm just going to trim any of that excess rope right off of that little tie, and then the leftover rope, I'm gonna just pull everything out. And I actually grabbed a comb and I combed it out like you would doing macrame. And so I just thought that it gave it a really nice look on top of that snowman. And with it being burlap and at the top, I wanted to give it a little bit of a fray. So I did pull a few strings just to give that rustic look. Going back to those pieces we pulled off our snowman earlier, and I'm going to reuse that nose and the button eyes and buttons for his little shirt. And I found taping these down to a paintable surface makes it so much easier to paint them, so I'm not trying to get paint all over my fingers when I'm trying to get these small pieces painted. Once I had everything set up, I grabbed my Waverly chalk paint in the color black, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint those black buttons with that chalk paint. And this takes all of that shine away and gives it a really nice finish. And for our carrot nose, I am using my Waverly chalk paint in the color pumpkin to paint the nose. And now for the fun part, decorating our snowman. I'm using some hot glue and I'm just going to reattach all of our pieces. And that's all there is to it. I just love how this elevated snowman turns out. It is so rustic and cute. And I think this is probably one of my favorite ones for today. And if you're enjoying these snowmans, please consider hitting that subscribe button below. It really helps my channel grow. Thank you. This craft, we're going to start out with this tag from Dollar General. And I have to give a quick shout out to my friend Robin from Crafts Unleashed. She sent me this beautiful box of different items from Dollar General since I don't have them up here in the Pacific Northwest. So thank you, Robin, for sending this to me. I hope you like what I create. So all I'm doing here is I grab my sip sander and I sanded off all of that glitter and paint. Next, I'm just going to go ahead and remove the tag and those little beads that are right there. I am going to leave that jute twine hanger. Next, I grab my Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster, and we're going to go ahead and give a nice coat of paint over the top of this tag. And earlier, I had printed out a piece of sheet music that is for Frosty the Snowman. And I'm going to go ahead and lay this tag right over the top of that sheet music. I still want to see the title up at the top that says Frosty the Snowman. So I'm going to make sure I trace the tag so that I can keep that on my tag. We just have to cut that tag shape out of our sheet music. Now next, we're going to tea stain our little piece of sheet music. And I did learn this technique from Sammy over at Unicorn Dust and Designs. And I'm going to give her a shout out down in my description box. So please go check her out. She does some amazing farmhouse crafts. This technique is super simple. All you do is you wet down your tea bag and then you're just going to go ahead and paint that tea right onto whatever you're trying to stain. Now, once you are done staining your piece and while everything is still wet, I'm going to go around the outside edge and I'm just going to tear the paper so that it gives a nice rough edged look. Now, while we have a moment, I want to tell you all about the Snowman Showdown that I'm participating in. There are 8 participants: Robin from Crafts Unleashed and Janice from Craftastic DIYs. These 2 ladies put together the playlist they are hosting, so thank you so much for hosting this great group of ladies in this Snowman Showdown. The other participants are Joanne from Joanne's DIY Life, Tracy from Tracy V Designs, Brenda from Rustic and Lace DIYs, Krista from Krista's Crafty Life, and May from Craft Away with May. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I would love for you guys to check out everybody in the playlist. So I've put a link for all of these ladies in the playlist and for the playlist itself. So please check them out and give them some love. Thank you. So now that we have all of our paper torn, We need to dry this piece of sheet music. So you could put this in the oven and bake it for 10 minutes at the lowest setting at like 250, 175, 275, whatever your lowest setting is on your oven. However, I was impatient and I just grabbed my heat tool this time and I just dried it. And it worked just fine. So that also works as well. Now let's go back to our tag. We are going to go ahead and grab our Waverly chalk paint in the color ink. And I am going to just go ahead and paint around the outside edge of this tag. I'm not going to get into the center, just I'm going right around the edge. And I actually later on went back and painted around the frame or the perimeter of this tag with the black ink as well, just so that it had a really nice finished look. Now, while that is drying, I did grab another one of these snowman cutouts. And all I'm doing here is taping this down to a paintable surface and grabbing my Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster, and we're going to give a nice coat of paint over our snowman. And I didn't want to get out wood filler, so I just grabbed my hot glue gun and I filled the hole in on the snowman's tag. And I have baker hands, so I was able to just kind of wipe a little bit of that hot glue off of there. But if you're sensitive to hot stuff, don't do that. Use wood filler or something else. And then I'm just going to go ahead and then paint that over with the Waverly chalk paint in plaster again. Now that the paint is dry, I grab my Mod Podge and I'm going to paint a coat of the Mod Podge over the top of the snowman. And then I'm going to grab my heat tool and help the drying process along. And once our snowman is completely dry, I am going to prep my napkin. And to do this, all I'm going to do is unfold my napkin, and I'm taking a little piece of painter's tape, which will help me remove the bottom layers from the napkin. And this napkin, I think, is only 2-ply. I could not get a 3rd ply off, so that is all I ended up removing. If you like this napkin, I did get this from Home Goods. I always seem to have really good luck finding great napkins there. And what I really liked about this napkin is there was one quadrant of the napkin that was foiled. So I'm going to actually be using that on our snowman. So I just cut that square right out. And then I'm just going to lay that over the top of our snowman. And you can see me here kind of positioning where I want my napkin because I want as much gold on my snowman as I can. Next, I grabbed a little piece of parchment paper and then I'm using my hot iron. And we're just going to iron that napkin right onto our snowman. Now, all we need to do is remove that piece of parchment paper. And I am going to go ahead and grab my Mod Podge and I'm just going to seal this in and let that dry before I sand off the edges. After everything has dried, I did use an emery board to sand the edges off, and I found that this was just a little bit easier to sand around all of the little detail pieces of this snowman. Yes, I know this video is going a little bit long on this craft, but I really want to show you all of the steps that I did. And it is 2 sides, so it's almost like 2 crafts in one. So what I did here is I took the tag that we painted earlier and I put it on the back side of this placemat that I've been cutting at for different crafts. And so I just traced it on the back side and we're going to cut that out. And now we're going to repeat the same steps, but this time we're going to be tracing out our little snowman. So now that we have all of our pieces for our tag, we're going to put all of this together. We're going to start out by grabbing some quick and thick type bond, and I'm going to place that on the back side of this tag. And to make sure everything lays nice and flat, I did grab a paintbrush and I just painted the glue all along the back side of this tag. And then we just placed that piece of the placemat right over the top of this tag. And I wanted to make sure that this adhered really nicely, so I did grab some of my pink clips that I had from the Dollar Tree, and I just placed that along the tag to make sure the glue stuck really nice. And now that that's dry, I'm going to grab my Decoupage little snowman, and I'm just going to do the same thing with the glue. I'm going to use that Tannenbaum glue again, and I'm going to paint that along the backside of my snowman and add him to the tag. Once that is dry, I went ahead and added 2 black beads and a gold bead out of my stash to the twine on the tag. Now here is the back side of the tag, and I just really like how this turns out. I almost like the back side better than the front side, but I want you guys to vote at the end, so we'll let you guys decide. So on the front side of this tag, I am going to grab my Mod Podge. What we're going to do is just paint a nice layer of Mod Podge over the whole entire front side of this tag. And once this is completely dry, we're going to go ahead and lay down that piece of music right on the top of the tag. Next, we're going to layer a piece of parchment paper, and then using our hot iron, we're just going to iron the sheet music right onto the tag, and that glue underneath that Mod Podge is going to warm up and everything is going to adhere. And once that is done, we can go ahead and remove that piece of parchment paper. And now I'm going to grab my Mod Podge again, and I'm going to take that Mod Podge and use it as a sealer on top of this sheet music. And once we have that all layered on top of our sheet music, we let that dry. Now I'm going to grab my Tannenbaum again, and I'm going to take that snowman that we cut out of the placemat, and we're going to go ahead and just do the same technique where we add the Tannenbaum, use a little bit of our paintbrush here, and we're just going to spread that all around. Now we just have to place that right on the center of our tag. And wow, the front of this tag looks amazing as well. I don't know which one's better. I would love for you guys to let me know what you think looks nicer. Would you like tag side 1 or tag side 2? Please vote in the comments below which tag you like better. If you're enjoying this content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Thank you. Okay, so this one is a quick and easy craft that was inspired by my husband. Yes, that is right. He sent me one of the reels one day that showed this person taking apart a Dollar Tree cupcake holder, and they were using these little cupcake saucers to put in their air fryer. So I thought this would be a fun way to make a craft with them. Plus, they also double as little dishes. So one Dollar Tree cupcake pan would have 6 little dishes ready for you to use in your craft room. However, for this one, we are going to use all 6 of these little dishes for our craft. I'm going to start out with 2 of these little cups and some Fix All super glue from the Dollar Tree. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of that Fix All around the rim of our cup. And I'm trying to get the glue to not go on the outside of the rim, so I'm trying to do that more toward the inside of this cup. Next, we're going to take the other cup and just place it right on top. And then we're going to set this aside and repeat the same steps on the other 4 cups from our cupcake pan. Using this Fix All glue, I found that it did take overnight for this to completely dry. So I ended up doing 2 cupcake trays. So the next day I had 6 snowballs that I could make snowman with. So this next step is really simple. I'm just taking that Fix All again, and I'm just going to stack my snowmans. And I'm going to do 3 per snowman, and then I let these dry again overnight. Now time to add a little scarf. I'm taking some of this fabric from the Dollar Tree, and it's a really fuzzy, soft fabric, and I just cut a small strip off, and I'm just going to tie a little scarf around my snowman's neck. And that's all there is to it. I decided to just make this a very primitive snowman with just the little scarf. I just love how it turns out. It's so simple and unique. These wood cutouts are so versatile. And we're going to use one of these snowman ones with one of these wood frames that I just recently found at the Dollar Tree. I am really loving these frames. They come in a 4-pack, and I'm going to start out by just taking a single frame and taping that down to a paintable surface. So next I grab my gold metallic paint, and this is by Delta Creative, and I'm going to paint both sides of this frame. Now let's go back to that little snowman. I'm going to place that one down on a paintable surface as well. Using my white metallic paint from Delta Creative, we're going to paint a nice coat over the top of this snowman. And once that paint has completely dried, I'm going to grab my multi-surface black licorice paint. We're going to paint our snowman's top hat. Once we are satisfied with our hat, I'm going to grab that gold paint again, and I'm going to paint the nose on our snowman with the gold paint. Next, I grab some satin ribbon, and I'm going to measure out about a 10-inch strip to be able to make a hanger for our ornament. And to make the hanger, I'm just going to make the shape of a fish, and I'm going to hot glue that right down at the bottom there. Now that we have our 3 pieces, we're going to put this together here. For this hanger, I am going to glue that to the frame at the very top, but I don't want any of the ribbon to hang down below because I want to cover that with our snowman. Next, I'm going to hot glue our snowman to our frame at the top and the bottom. Now, I'm going to grab that black paint again, and I'm just going to cover the little hole at the top of the snowman. This is going to be the back side of the ornament, but I do like my ornaments to look nice on both sides, so if they flip around on the tree, it's no big deal. Now let's flip our ornament over and look at the front. I'd like to add a few little embellishments, so what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of greenery up at the top. And in the center of that greenery, I'm going to add just a few little gold berries. And that's it. Our little ornament is ready to hang. I just love how this turns out, and these frames are so much fun to work with, so if you find them at the Dollar Tree, definitely pick them up. There's so many fun uses for them. And there you have it. 5 fun snowman crafts to get you started for the winter season. I hope you enjoyed these crafts as much as I did. Please check out the Snowman Showdown down in the description box below. And if you're looking for more fun and creative craft ideas, be sure to check out my next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, craft more, stress less.